Oh, good.
Yes, we are. Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to my new YouTube channel, Patrick Goes Wild. You're tuned in to Wild and Live. And what are you guys up to? Probably, like me, not doing that much because we're all under quarantine. Day 1 million in Britain under quarantine. That's my really bad northern big brother voice, but no fear, not to worry, because it is a nice sunny day out there. It's a beautiful day, and we've got a really cool guest for you on this episode. Before we go any further, I want to remind all of you to please subscribe if you haven't done so already. Look down there, there's a little button that says subscribe. Click on that, and it'll help you keep up to date with all the latest videos that are going out on this channel. So, who is our first guest? I like to call him a real live action man. This guy likes to put himself in some really sticky, precarious situations. In fact, I think he kind of thrives off those types of situations. We usually on this show have people who are biologists who talk about animals, but I thought on this episode we'd have an open conversation with this guy who I think you will really enjoy. His name is Aldo Kane. Aldo, are you there?
Ta-da! Hey!
You are.
Good. How are you?
How you doing? I'm great. How are you doing?
I'm well, thank you. Thanks for having me along.
Yeah, brilliant. Thanks for joining us. Let's get straight into it, because I think one of the first shows I saw you on was of you going inside a volcano. What possesses someone to walk or climb inside a volcano?
That is a great question. Basically, my job, like you said, you have biologists and scientists and geologists on, but really, I don't have that background. My background is much more broad, and I get used by television people to take scientists and film crews into dangerous, remote, extreme locations. And that's what I did. I took a BBC film crew deep inside an active volcano in the Democratic Republic of the Congo.
That sounds pretty incredible. Aldo, hang on a second. Let's have a look at this. Okay, so we got some teething. This is why I love live, because right now I've got a great shot of your beard and your bookcase. Can we do a look? I think it's also kind of my camera on this side, but yeah, there we go. There's his handsome mug. We love it. Perfect. That's awesome. So you took a BBC film crew. Yeah, that's perfect. You took a BBC film crew into this volcano in the Congo, into Mount. And correct me if I'm getting this wrong, Nyiragongo?
It's a difficult one. It's Nyiragongo.
Nyiragongo.
Yeah.
And this isn't a dormant volcano we're talking about. This is a fully active volcano. It last erupted in 2002. Before then, 1977. So it seems like we're, 20 years, 30, kind of near or due an eruption sometime soon. It's not your average walk in the park.
Well, that's the thing, and I have to say that I am not a volcanologist, which is someone who is an expert in volcanoes, but I have been lucky enough to be inside this volcano on 3 or 4 different occasions over the last 10 years. It's actually the biggest lava lake on the planet. So on Earth, there are 4 or 5 volcanoes, active volcanoes, that have a permanent lava lake inside them. And this is one of them. This is the biggest lava lake on Earth that you can see. And Nyiragongo, it's in Eastern Democratic Republic of the Congo, and it's quite difficult to get there, and it takes a bit of time to get there.
Yeah.
The right people and the right scientists. It is one of the most spectacular places on Earth. The Virunga National Park is without doubt one of the most beautiful places on Earth. It has everything from mountain gorillas, volcanoes, big lakes that are bubbling with poisonous gas. It's amazing.
So as far as an adventure or an expedition goes, it's pretty extreme, but also beautiful. Here are some stats on Nyiragongo, the volcano. The cauldron of molten lava inside the crater is 260 meters across. Then the actual rim, the top of the volcano, is 1.2 kilometers across in diameter. And all of that lava down below that's bubbling and churning is doing so at 1,000 degrees Celsius. Aldo, I mean, for the average person, a normal person would say, "Nah, that's not for me." Weren't you scared?
I was incredibly scared.
I knew it. I knew it.
Like, I get scared all the time with my jobs and with my work. Being scared isn't a problem; it's how you deal with it. And I
Right.
had a job to do to get a film crew deep inside the volcano to film this bubbling lava lake. And you're right; it's nearly 300 meters across, the lava lake at the bottom, so that's
Mm,
3 football fields wide. Um, and then at the top of it, it's nearly a mile wide, like you say. And when you climb up to the top of it, the best time to arrive on the crater rim is just as it's becoming dark, because the lava lake that you
interesting.
see from there is molten red hot, and it just gives off this huge unearthly glow into the atmosphere. It
Wow.
honestly is one of the most spectacular places to explore.
I bet it feels like you're staring into the heart of the earth.
That's it. And this the magma, or the lava, when it comes out from Nyiragongo when it
Mm.
erupted in 2002, is some of the most is some of the fastest flowing lava on the planet. You know, it's very difficult to outrun it.
Mm.
And so it feels like when you're standing there looking at this bubbling cauldron of lava, that you're looking straight into the center of the earth.
Wow.
It really is one of those moments where you just think, wow, Earth is amazing.
Yeah. Like you said, the scientists that you were with, I was watching a clip from the show Expedition Volcano, and they were saying exactly what you were saying, that it's one of the volcanoes that has one of the fastest flowing lava, something around 30 to 40 miles per hour. So you can imagine there's no way, if that's coming down the volcano, that you can outrun it. Uh, there are roughly 1,500 volcanoes in the world. Like you said, there's somewhere between 5 and 7 lava lakes of those 1,500. Nyiragongo being the largest. It just seems like this whole thing was fraught with danger. So why were you there? Or, I know you were there to help the scientists and the film crew, but why were you as a team going to that particular volcano?
As I've been 3 times with 3 different. When it last erupted in 2002, it didn't take very long for the lava to go from the volcano, the 12 miles down to the lake, and the
Yeah.
Lake Kivu is where millions of people live. And so what they're trying to work out, the scientists, is there a way of working out by taking samples, gas samples, lava samples, rock samples, ash samples, is there a way of finding out when and if this volcano is going to erupt next? Because if they can work out an early warning system for when it's going to erupt,
Right.
then they can alert the people that live there and hopefully save some lives.
Yeah, it's again, watching the show, you get a sense of what the life cycle and what the kind of character and personality of a volcano entails. And it's not just the danger of it erupting and having that lava flow, that almost river of lava flowing through the town back in 2002, but then you've got all those poisonous gases. It was really interesting actually seeing one of the experiments that the scientists were looking at was the fact that there's this buildup of carbon dioxide in one of the lakes nearby, and telling the story of how I think it was in the 80s there was an instance where a lot of that carbon dioxide, I don't think it was in Congo, but a lot of that carbon dioxide was released at one time and actually killed a lot of people in that area. So you can see that there are all sorts of dangers
There's
when it comes to working near a volcano.
when we go there as explorers, as scientists, as
Mm,
filmmakers, and we're documenting the life cycle of it. Inherently, that job is dangerous, and it's my job
Yeah.
to make that as safe as we can, so that we can film safely, and presenters and cameramen and sound men don't get injured. But the one big thing is that we've got to remember is there are millions of people around the world that live in the back garden of volcanoes.
Yeah.
I've been lucky enough to have been inside 5, 6, or 7 volcanoes around the world, and we go there and we have protective clothing, and we do the job, and then we come away, and then there's people, families, extended families that are living in the footprint of where the volcano last erupted. So it's understanding volcanoes for volcanologists, geologists, scientists, is really about understanding the life cycles of the Earth, and then trying to transfer that into a way that it helps the local communities.
Fantastic. So for this type of expedition, well, for any expedition, you need a lot of kit, and probably more so when it involves going inside a volcano. So can you tell us about the type of protection that you needed when you were doing this? I've seen pictures of people wearing what looks like a spacesuit made out of tinfoil.
Yeah, there's the protection starts from when you're right on the crater rim, and the gases that are produced inside the volcano can be quite poisonous over a prolonged period of time. So we wear masks and we wear goggles. The thermic change in the column of gas that comes out of the volcano creates these huge winds up on top of the volcano, and we're at 3,500 meters roughly. So it can
Wow.
get cold up there, and also when the lava bubbles and it breaks apart, and you hear these sort of pops and releases of gas, that's sending up tiny fine particles of glass, of silica, and that's they call it Paley's hairs, I think, and they're in the atmosphere. So the first protection that we have to wear is a mask, and then we face mask, and then we wear goggles as well, and that stops things going in our eyes. The next lot of protection that we wear is harnesses and ropes. I have to lay out in that volcano around about 2 kilometers worth of rope.
Gosh.
So it's technical abseiling, going along handrails, dropping down more abseils, ladders. So it's about 2 kilometers of rope. So we need harnesses, all the equipment for attaching to the ropes to get down and to climb back out. And then when we're in the very bottom of it, we need other protection. We have vent opened up, explosive vent, and to get close in there, to there or where the lava flow broke out, you have to be fairly close before you need that silver suit. But generally inside the volcano, it's quite a nice warm working temperature. It is like working on the moon, I would imagine. It's very desolate and a strange place, and it feels like somewhere that human beings shouldn't live, which is strange because ultimately pretty much all life on Earth has been created from these volcanoes.
Yeah, you mentioned that it's like an alien world, almost like the moon. Can you describe what it sounds like?
Yeah.
You've described what it looks like. If you're picture us all standing on top of this volcano, and we close our eyes. This is a leading question, but what sounds do you hear?
This is the best bit about the volcano. The best way to imagine this is, when I was there, I made the team camp down on the 3 levels, and we camped on the second level down. So you're camping about 150, 200 meters away from the lava lake. And the best way to imagine this is you get into your tent at night and you zip it all up and you lie on your back and you look up at the roof of your tent. It never gets dark. You just see this amazing iridescent orange glow. And
Wow.
if you were to close your eyes or keep them open, all you hear is like hydraulics, but very loud. And every time it does that, or there's an off-gassing, or when it
right, so that's all the gases coming out from the volcano.
out, and you can hear that happen, and it happens all the way through the night, and then you'll hear rumbles of rocks coming down, through the crater rim up to a kilometer away. You can hear huge sections. The volcano is continually moving, and that's how volcanoes form. There's lava comes out, lands on the sides, and it's continually running down, and I suppose creating this super dynamic environment. And then
Yeah.
just before it gets dark, the winds pick up because of the thermal change outside, inside, the heat, and you get these winds which compress your tent right down on top of your face. It blows the tent right down on top of your face. Gale force winds. So it's an incredibly noisy, dynamic, strange place to live. After a while, you get used to it, but the smells, the sulfur, rotten eggs, the heat, the moisture that's continually being sent up through the ground is it's pretty amazing.
I want to pick up on that because it does seem like it's a feast for the senses. You got all these different colors, like you're describing this orange iridescent glow, the change in winds, the sound of this rumbling, the sound of the earth itself, and then you've got the smell of rotten eggs and sulfur. It seems like one of the most dangerous places to be, yet you seem to thrive off that.
It's there is no doubt that it's dangerous, but it's my job and the job of the scientists and the volcanologists to be as safe as we can. Scientists don't take a lot of risks where they put their life at risk. They have to. It's much better for them to get the information and stay alive than be gung ho and risk their life. So all the scientists, geologists, geographers, volcanologists, virologists, everyone that I've worked with have been very, very professional, and they take that job seriously. So it doesn't help when you're potentially, especially on television, gung ho jumping into places to make a scene of it. Actually, it's much more interesting to get the science from these places and use that science to help the people that live in that area. But having said that, yes, it is dangerous. But the same as everything, crossing the road is dangerous. But if you do the right things, you break it down, and you use the right equipment, and you've got the right training and the right people, then you can make as many things safe as you can. Then the rest of it.
I suppose that's why you're there, because you're the person that's trying to help those scientists stay safe, get them access to those areas, and get them in and out safely. I'm going to have a quick look on our chat. Let's have a look if we've got any questions. We've got some people saying, hello, Patrick and Aldo. Matteo Jackson Kavanaugh. I like this, Matteo. Matteo seems to have a lot of questions. I like this. Will you be continuing our 30 Animals podcast? Yes, I will be, Matteo. Let's see if we've got any questions for Aldo. We've got about 5 minutes to go. What was it like working in, let me see if I can get this correct, Nyiragongo Mountains of Borneo? And then we've got another question, which is, what equipment do you use when you're in the volcano? I think you touched on that. So what was it like working in Nyiragongo Mountain in Borneo?
Yeah, that was with Steve Backshaw on the team. We finished a series of 10 expeditions last year. Borneo was the last one, and I have to say it was probably one of my favorites, and Steve as well. It was incredible. Out of the 10 expeditions, I think it was the hardest one that we did because there was no other support. We had to walk in. It's so remote and so pristine, which is amazing, that we had to use boats and then walk in. And the reason we were going in there is because up in these cliffs, we were working with a local scientist again, and his specialty is rock art. And when we basically got to these cliffs and these caves and started exploring, we started to find some of the oldest figurative art in the world. So we're talking positive and negative handprints, and we're talking also paintings of cows and savanna animals. And this is up in the mountains in Borneo. So those paintings were from before when Borneo wasn't a jungle. That's from when Borneo was
Interesting.
savannah 50,000 years ago. So it was an amazing expedition, but very difficult.
Yeah, that sounds incredible. I've got two more questions that I'd like to ask, and I think we are going to have to call it a day. It's flown past. Let's have a quick look. So we've got, what did I want to ask you? What's the best question to... Okay, so when we think about volcanoes, they often give us the impression of things that are destructive forces, but volcanoes are also incredibly... they're the source of life, of a lot of life on the planet. All that ash that spews out from the lava from the volcanoes, full of nutrients that plants use to grow, and then that goes on to support other life. Two questions in one, really. What impression did Nyiragongo leave you with, and did you get to see the mountain gorillas in Virunga National Park?
Yes, yes, I did get to see the gorillas there. That was one of the most special parts of that entire trip was to be able to see these endangered mountain gorillas there. And in the Virunga National Park, it's probably one of the best places to see the mountain gorillas. I mean, that was amazing. The destructive force of the volcano, from what I can tell as a non-scientist, is that they can be fairly destructive, and there's lots on record, recently that have been that way. But there's always the upside to that, is that the planet was formed by volcanoes. My home country of Scotland is all old volcanic rock, and at one time would have been destructive volcanoes. And so on the leeward side of a lot of volcanoes, where a lot of the ash and I suppose erupted products end up landing, they become so fertile, and that's why local people and farmers are living so close to the volcanoes, because they're so productive. The earth is so rich in nutrients. So as long volcanoes be very dangerous and take away, but they're also essentially the building blocks of this planet.
Aldo, I think that's a perfect note to end on. Thank you so much for joining us today. I could literally chat to you for hours. Before we do go, you've got a new show that came out about 2 weeks ago. I think it was on BBC Two. Could you tell us about it, and can people still see it on iPlayer?
Yes, it was an investigation into the illegal tiger trade. It's called Tigers Hunting the Traffickers. It's on it's on iPlayer. You have to hunt for Natural World, Tigers Hunting the Traffickers, and you should find it on there.
Awesome. That's brilliant. Aldo, thank you so much for joining us. Really appreciate it. And I'll catch up with you again later.
Awesome. Thank you, guys. Thanks for listening. Cheers.
Nice one.
Cheers.
Thanks, Aldo. Take care.
Bye now.
Awesome. That was Aldo Kane, an absolutely awesome guy, super humble. He is a great adventurer. I think that is us for today. Let's have a look. We're at 23 minutes. I'm going to call it a day. Thank you so much for everybody that's tuned in to Wild and Live. It means a lot that you're tuning in and enjoying this series, this YouTube. I can't even talk today. Is everybody losing the plot like me? I think I'm losing the plot. Thank you for tuning in. If you do have any other questions, please make sure to use the hashtag WildAndLIVE. And if you haven't done so already, please make sure you subscribe. That way you can keep up to date with all the upcoming videos. But that is it from me today, and I will see you next time. Thanks for tuning in. Take care.